Good morning. It is now 9 o'clock a.m. and I will call the Sewage and Water Board Joint Finance and Administration and Strategic Planning Committee meeting to order. Special counsel, please call the roll.
Director Kennedy,
Here.
Director Pacio,
Yeah.
Director Scruggs. Director Greenwich,
Here.
Director Cole. Director Thomas. Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now proceed with our four presentation items. First up, we have executive summary report with our CFO, Mr. Gray Lewis.
Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity to be here with the joint committee. We're going to talk about several topics to give an update. The year's humming along, as we all know. But today we have the March year-to-date financials included, update on Oracle. We think the past month we continue to stabilize on the transaction processing. So that's coming along, working with the consultants on a kind of an extended hypercare for the new software. The financial reporting also needs some focus to get kind of back to a normalized state. So we've included year-to-date numbers, talk a little bit about those. It's continued work in process there. And we're also, this is the time of year for the audit, deadline looming in the next few weeks. So that's really the primary focus, the December 31, 25. But these March numbers, 68.1 million for the first 3 months of operating revenue, water sewer. That's just about 1.39 million below budget, tracking along fairly well. Drainage taxes, 56.2 million for these 3 months, March year to date. So that's a function of the due date of our property tax for the millage. So that's a big portion of what we receive for this whole fiscal year. The operating expenses, 55.2 million, is where the numbers are a little low and not as complete, but we're working on getting that in. There was a particular payroll interface to get those numbers in. So we'll be catching up with those. So on this next slide, we go to the next slide.
Great, real quick, I'm sorry, the other income deficit, where is that stemming from?
4.3 million. I have to check, but I think we put maybe a fair share number in the difference there. If you go to the next slide. It's breaking down of the expenses by water, sewer, drainage. We've made some estimates because I know some numbers were not reported. But as mentioned, we'll continue to work on getting this updated every month to get back to sort of our normal internal financials. On cash collections, the last 2 months, March was 24.3 million, April 23.1 million. These are much better numbers, so see improvement compared to January, February, and then also the historical history for March and April. We've beaten both of those. We take a look at the numbers. We see we have done more turnoffs, disconnects. We know the smart meters, the expected benefits and the advantages of smart metering, I think is helping. And then the consumer behavior on payment patterns. So the last 2 months have been good with cash collections. This next chart on slide 3 just looks at the last 12 months historically. So cumulatively about 11% is the uncollected ratio. So that has lagged where we were a year ago. So we need to continue to work with the billing department on the stabilizing the monthly billed revenue as well as expanding collection efforts. So we'll continue with that. This slide is our reads captured. You can see the high number of bills in March were issued and about 99% were all included the reads. So the breakdown of the numbers for what was not read or non-read bills was 2,209. So those numbers were down in each of these 3 categories that we track. As you know, we've had some change in leadership in March with Susanna leaving to move to the city. Renell's stepped in, done a great job getting involved in all the numerous types of issues that come up, but just we're working together to stabilize the monthly process so we have sort of more consistency and predictability. And then also working with the meter management, the operations team led by Becca Johnsey, in terms of getting the last of those mechanical meters out, getting things in a place where the industry standard is sort of like you just have a very small percentage that doesn't communicate but is able to address the very next month. So we'll continue to plan to report more on reaching industry standards and really taking advantage of the smart metering technology that we have now.
Great. Why would we not issue the same number of bills every month?
The cycles, there's 20 cycles, and they've either gotten behind or gotten ahead or caught up. So you see a lot of volatility. January 106,000, February 111, a bunch of catch up in March. So yeah, just the number of cycles and how many cycles got done in that 30-day period.
It's like 20 business days a month.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So February is always going to be a little low.
Yeah, number of days in the month as well, yes.
Okay.
On the volume for March, bills was up for water. We did 1.3 billion of gallons included in water bills for about 11.5 million. Water revenue, sewer, similarly, you're up in the volume. There was billed 1.1 billion, 15.5 million. So it's just charting those together. HDI program is continued, working with the city appointed entity, HDI. They produced credits, recommended credits, almost 1.1 million for the month of March, 440 credit cases. There were 461 where there was not a credit recommended or necessary, and we did a total, including our own credits, about 1.55 million. So we continue to work with the city on this program, allowing the customers to go directly to that third party if they have a question about a high bill. Customer receivables at the end of March is about 57.5 million, a net of the allowance for doubtful accounts, which is up from our last audited net AR. We're working with, for the year-end audit for 2025, working with our auditors right now on finalizing that estimate. The delinquent customers, a particular group, 61.7 million, so that's when we focus on each month. That actually went down about 967,000 from the end of February to the end of March. In each of those category, well, 2 of the 3 categories, residential, multifamily, and we have about 69% of these past due customers on Promise Pay installment plans. On this slide, just highlights the breakdown of the payment plans and customers in arrears. We did an update meeting with the Promise Pay team. Just a reminder that was a technology product brought on about 2 years ago that allows customers through texting and a website, and they can also call to sign up for a payment plan and pay directly. It's a flexible program. So the feedback from that outside party, very, very strong. The numbers have been good. Like 1.5 million was collected on Promise Pay payment plans in March. About 87% of payment plans are staying on track. So there was some good customer feedback on the user-friendly nature. We continue to encourage the community, if they're behind, to sign up for a Promise Pay payment plan. And that also takes you outside of the disconnect process if you're behind and not paying. On this slide, we show for the increase, there was 252 new Promise Pay payment plans. And then the other bar graph, we're just showing the orders for disconnects. So service disconnects is a last resort of, again, this data seems to correlate with more cash received in the month. This is sort of aligned, ramping up in the last 2 months is aligned with our strategy with smart metering data and having the ability to run a process, do a disconnect, and ideally, once customer receives a letter, that final letter, they do pay, we don't go through both a turn-off and then a turn-on situation. But we continue to work with the operations team and Rennell's team to work this program and, again, help people from getting behind.
So that was just orders for disconnects. That doesn't mean they were necessarily disconnected.
Correct.
Do we
yes.
have any sense of how many were actually disconnected last month?
I'll have to get with the operations team to see if you separate those two. But let's get back to you on
Yeah.
that.
I think it would be helpful to know.
Or can we also just change that?
Yeah.
Because I've always interpreted that as that was the action, not the notice, and there's a huge difference there to me.
Yeah, it's definitely different than the initial notice saying you're eligible, but a service order to disconnect is a, final, it's going to go into motion. But yeah, we'll follow up on that specific question. On our dashboard, just want to highlight the one line 9 of the cash on hand days for water with 150 days and 174 for sewer, so above the requirements there. Debt obligations, the same loans that we've had on the books and the draw-based for mostly the sewer program. No major changes there. Capital improvement and CapEx here in the first, actually include April here, because it had the January through April, 19.8 million, almost 20 million of new appropriations done in the new Oracle system. On the grants, we've been meeting regularly with GOSEP and the city's team to help move along the monthly reimbursements on these public assistance grants. So there's 13.4 million received back through in March. So that was very helpful just with the joint infrastructure program funded by grants. On this next slide, I just want to highlight on minor drainage consolidation. Thanks to the support of the city, we did receive the almost 3.4 million in the traffic camera revenue just last month. And then we got the first 3 months of the infrastructure maintenance fund, almost 1.3 million. So about 4.6 million so far for minor drainage. We haven't gotten additional estimates from the city on sort of the rest of the year, but we'll continue to meet and work with the team to understand what those numbers are, because we know that's first point of entry into the drainage system, very important as we've been discussing.
So quickly on the traffic camera revenue, so that's the money that we've received in '26 is actually '24 and '25 money.
Yes, caught up all the way through, I think, the end of '25, but I don't have details on exactly to December '25. So that's right.
Yeah. I guess I'm just curious if we received 3.37 million from basically 18 months worth of traffic camera revenue in arrears, where are we getting 4 million for this year?
Yeah, I didn't have that number at the time. The 4 million was estimated at the end of December 25. So just something that needs to be re-estimated and refigured altogether. Could be a little high.
Yeah, that is, I do think that's important though, that we are not receiving as much revenue as we anticipated.
Right. This slide is just presenting the 3 major joint infrastructure programs we talked about, and invoices from DPW. Continue to do the processing. We get a lot new invoices, mainly on JIRR, and just want to let the committee know we're continuing to work with the city and report weekly, meeting with Steve and the team. So the month of March, we paid 4.5 million, and then April, 4.6 million invoices to DPW. So we appreciate that support. We'll continue to work with the city on these amounts. From there, I was going to pass it over to Rennell and Keith James on the customer service update.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us again.
One more, I'm sorry. We want to announce that Steve Nelson, representative of the city, board member, is present for the record. And Mr. James, I think
Thank
we're
you.
ready for you. Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning again. Thanks for having us. Just customer experience, looking at our March numbers, I think the biggest takeaway that I want to highlight for everybody is the 42,110 calls we received. That's a historical number. And I think everybody's aware it was probably mainly due to the 4 main water breaks we had in March. So that's going to represent and impact all our numbers going forward. So I just wanted to highlight that to everybody. That speaks to why our numbers are, our abandoned call numbers are increased. You see our answer is at 54%, which is half. We got that 100% increase of calls received, but our 54% represents us being able to handle about 20 to 22,000 calls a month. So we were essentially almost overwhelmed with the number of calls for the month of March. Just wanted to highlight that. Our average wait time didn't go up too bad, but it did go up from 3 to 4. We still haven't gotten our numbers from NICE. We're working with them. I don't know what's so difficult about a specialized report, but they are working on it, and we are communicating as well with our IT. Our walk-ins, the good thing is that, and we'll see this on the rest of the slides, but our walk-ins did increase. Our emails did increase, so we did serve more customers. So I think that's a positive thing. Right, next. This is our phones. So this speaks to the number, I spoke about this, the number of historical numbers we received in March, addressing those customers' issues. So you can go on to the next slide. Again, number of calls answered, of course, was down, and we know why they were down. So we're doing our best to do better. And you'll see a little tick in April, but definitely in the month of May as well. Labor impacted those calls too as well. As we shot, I mentioned that last time, we shot the call center. I also had some people out on FMLA as well. So all our ability to answer calls were impacted from several different ways. So next slide. So again, speaking to average wait time, you can see the difference in the average wait time. It did tick up a little bit from last month to this month. And I hinted on those, gave you reasons why I believe it went up. But just from 3 to 4 isn't crazy bad, but it's not where we want to be. We want to stay at 3 or below on average wait time. Questions for me? Or Renell?
More so just kind of trying to connect the dots here. So has there been any study on the correlation between the increase in service disconnects, also the staffing issue with customer service? Is that possibility, something where it's being pushed to now the third party? Because that was an immense increase to the third party that's handling customer disputes. But what is going on with staffing as of now? I know it was mentioned last time, but do you still have the people on FMLA? Are you still short?
So we do have a few people on FMLA in the call center. As it relates to staffing, we interviewed and got approved. So 2 people will be in next week on the call center, which is good. We move fast, working with HR, and 2 people starting this week in the lobby. So that's a total of 4 people. So that's a big turnaround in a month, about a month and a half.
Okay, and then where does that get you with your overall FTE need?
So we still need 3 more people in the call center, which they're doing interviews this week. And we need 2 more people in the lobby. One is doing an involuntary transfer, so we're gonna need a third. It'll be ideal to get 3 more people in the lobby, but 2 more people will put us where we need to be at.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Can I ask just a general high-level question? From your view, what are the primary constraints that's blocking us from meeting our goals in the customer service area?
you can be a little bit more specific because we got in person with the lobby. So you want to talk there or you want to talk call center?
Both,
Uh,
just high level, super
Alright.
high level.
Yeah, I would think high level, it's just being able to staff,
Okay.
right? The biggest thing is staff. And none of us could have predicted 42,000 calls. And if you look back over the last 2 years, historically, we haven't come close to that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that was an anomaly,
Okay.
the 42,000 calls, and we know why, right?
Right. Okay, thank
So,
you.
all right, I hope that is.
Yeah, thanks. So,
Okay.
yeah, I would agree. I think sort of the historic month, the end of February, month of March is kind of, so many things happen here, you lose sight of how significant it was on the utilities, so. That actually kind of ties into our next group of slides. We wanted to update the committee on the immediate action plan, particularly, you know, this has been led by GSO, but the funding aspects we'll talk about here in a couple slides. So breaking it down, you know, as you'd expect in the most immediate near-term things, we met with the Infrastructure Advisory Board who handles the fair share funding. Last month, they did approve these two projects to do the urgent transmission main repairs, $3 million, a pilot test for $1 million. So happy to have that resource and the support of the city and the IAB to apply that money where it's absolutely needed. And then we had that with a combination of our own budgeted PAYGO, very, very limited for water, say 9 million overall, and about 3 million for the distribution network. So we'll be consuming some of that to deal with these urgent repairs. But because of the fair share and the IRB, we do have, you know, that option to spend this 4 million that's needed. So happy to have that, and hopefully an expansion of fair share is really helping, would help the situation. Next category in the near term, broken up, as you see here, these funding sources, I think, fall into the ideas, potential solutions, everything's on the table type of discussion of particularly contracts or transmission main projects that have been looked at or considered to be part of the JIRR. So it's about 4 different transmission main projects, 27.5 million, and then the combination of applying a federal earmark request, if that comes through, potential JIR scope, working with Steve and the team, the city team, to say, does it make sense to dedicate some of the JIR funding, if they're with an extension, of course, into those 4 transmission main projects? So that would be something potentially near term if things fall together to get 27.5 million of work. Additional 100 million for initial replacement, and the larger assessment work, as well as a big project, Panola Claiborne, you know, fall into a different bucket that we can report back. You know, we do plan to do additional state capital outlay application. We know there's been discussion with the Corps of Engineers. The Water Resource Development Act, WRDA, is a list of projects that with a funding at the federal level could begin to tackle one of these bigger chunks. So it's going to be us working with the city, the mayor's team, coming together. These are the near-term problems. These are the ideas and solutions. What makes the most sense as a community, you know, to invest, to get this investment going into next steps. The much bigger number, the longer term, we look at the 2.3 billion cost, you know, which is an old cost, but is kind of has relevance. And we talked about within our team the need for a long-term funding mechanism, whether it's an expansion of fair share, some type of tourism tax, you know, something to expand the rate base, to have more payers, such that it's not just all absorbed in the 140,000 local rate payers. But that's something we require additional rate study, and again, working with the city, the mayor, to say, you know, what's the best approach overall, considering all these factors and the deferred maintenance on that
Great.
piece.
Do we have an estimated cost for the repairs at Claiborne and Toledano? Louisiana Avenue?
So the repairs that were completed, I believe that was around $400,000. That was the work that was already completed. And you'll see if you drive down Claiborne this morning, we actually now have a contractor working at South Claiborne 3rd, which was identified as an important one. So they're out there investigating that now to be able to find the source of the leak and see what repairs need to be done.
Okay, thanks.
Can I also ask a question about the JRR portion of there? So is the 27.5 is projects that there's just no remaining funding for, that were originally part of the JRR bucket because we sort of ran out of money? Is that right?
Yeah, that was at the time when the initial scoping was done, there was not JR capacity at that time. Re-looking at numbers, revisiting, we think there potentially is some if you move from sort of the city's contingency funds, our contingency funds on existing contracts. So that appears to be a possibility.
So
If
these
there's an
are
extension.
the earmark request and how does the potential extension fit into that? If the money's sort of expended and these are projects that weren't funded, I'm just trying to understand what the
Yeah,
extension.
I guess the money's not yet expended or committed to something.
I see.
So you have a money potential, but you also need a time extension, period of performance as well.
Right.
So both
Okay.
pieces. And this is just a reminder on the water system and the capital stack of, you know, how we would finance things, what's the most expensive, what we've done historically, as we talked about, you know, the power complex and a lot of different projects is mixing in a lot of different funding sources, getting grants, getting help from the city. So lots of people have been helping to get these projects done. The water system and transmission main is such a large piece, going to require, you know, creative solutions. Randy's been mentioning to us as the moment he arrived and helping us get into working groups to talk about what are the ideas. Because at the end of the day, we're faced with not having bonding capacity, so we need net revenues to do our own financing to pay back that debt. So this slide is just capturing some of those different historical things we've done or things in the pipeline. And then on the right-hand side, we're just trying to highlight to the committee the ability to pull together a working group, met 2 or 3 times now with our financial advisors, bond counsel, or utility leadership. Had the benefit of, you know, connection with the EP wastewater management director, you know, meeting with us directly, talking about our specific challenge with this immediate action plan and the big dollars, the deferred maintenance. So he gave us some references to potentially smaller grants, but you know, having that type of working group, I think is going to be critical to continue and bring in the city and the mayor's team so that we're all sort of pooling the ideas and understanding the challenges and then I guess on the grants side, just kind of capturing all these different areas. This is the most ideal situation where you don't have a debt repayment situation, you don't have a bonding capacity. So I know cybersecurity is one that Daryl Isles, he's been on board, has worked on pursuing that. So I think we've shown that we have had some success in getting into these unique grant programs and making a difference. It's just a matter of like pulling things all together and staying the course, keeping the ideas flowing, and we'll see where it takes us.
I'd like to add that he's correct. Since my first day here, I beat the drum to think outside the box to try to find the finances that we need. We are in unprecedented times, and therefore we need an unprecedented solution to address it. And so that's what I've said in Washington, that we need to be able to maybe have a new bucket of money that we're able to pull from to fund this for distressed cities across the country. We're not alone. The AWWA had a program or a study that said that to replace and repair water systems across the country would be $2 trillion. So the think tanks, the water think tanks are talking differently. They used to talk about just obtaining monies to make repairs and replacement. Now they're saying, no, we have to look at how do we handle this holistically and make major corrections in the systems across the country. That's number one. Number two, since the head of EPA Water came to our board meeting, we have had other meetings with him, as Gray noted, and EPA has been willing to meet with us, and they've been willing to help us look at ways to cobble together smaller amounts of money to get a larger sum. And so we're going to continue to have those conversations.
I have a question about that. That's exciting. I think that's definitely the direction that we need to continue to push through vigorously. I'm curious about, and maybe you don't know, and it was great to meet Mr. Sawyers. I'm curious about the genesis of WIFIA loans, state revolving fund, the things that are already in his portfolio. If you know how we got there, and do you think trying to pursue a new tranche or bucket of money would follow a similar process, or because this is a national effort, you know, is there, basically, are we approaching this the way those other loans came to be, those other financing products came to be, or is there going to be a different approach? That's I guess, my question.
I can add.
Sure.
I think on the 2018-19, the WIFIA was a newer loan through the Water Infrastructure Financing Act. The CFO at that time, came from DC Water, had the right experience or connection ties. You get into application process took a while, but the fact that the capacity was available, sewer system had ability. So it's the right combination of having bonding capacity. They had, I guess, built up through the rate increases for those 8 years at 10%. And you're able to get into a large $275 million WIFIA loan. We take the same conversation back. I think we have the right relationship ties and knowledge of federal programs. The capacity is not there. So that part seems a little different, whereas in the first WIFIA loan with sewer system, it was a little more of a natural fit. But we shared that with Andrew Sawyers, and I think they're aware. It's just turning over all these rocks, making sure you have the financial advisors, bond counsel at the table, the creative ideas. Steve's team mentioned the fair share, being able to show that as a long-term revenue, have other bonding. What helps you get net revenues so you can do more bonding? So all those are, I think, going to be required to look at this challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Let's see here if I have one more thing. So, yeah, right now we're I guess mixing in, talking a little bit about our other drinking water state revolving fund loan that we had already planned prior to some of the main breaks, in terms of bulk chemical facility, and using the SRF, which we're doing a lead service line program, and then we've done for smart metering. But we'll continue to be putting in SFRS loans. We'll close on the ones that we have, which we do have the last tranche. Everything's been approved for the next lead service line, and then the bulk chemical facility. Continue to apply for these grants. Little bits add up, and then the support through the IAB has been incredibly helpful in getting these projects. So an expansion of fair share, like talking about if there's a way to view the rate base is not just the local citizens live here, it's people that come stay in the city. If that can be part of our net revenue sort of picture, then things start to look a little better. But yeah, happy to answer any other questions, but we wanted to share an update.
Okay. No further questions for Gray. We will go to our next presentation, our stormwater fee update and rate study recommendation with Jamie Parker, Chief of Staff.
Good morning, everybody. I'm excited to be here to share an update on the development of a stormwater fee. And we have our financial consultants, Raftellus, participating virtually, so it'll be a joint presentation and they'll chime in on the appropriate slides. So I wanted to start with just a high-level overview of what we've done over the past few years, because I know just due to the natural transition of board members, we might be up to speed at different levels in terms of where we stand regarding the development of the fee. But in our latest phase of work, going back to 2022, we reached out to Raftellus, asking them to update an older drainage fee feasibility analysis that was originally completed in 2016. And so the consultants were able to do that and completed their updated analysis the following year in 2023, and then began sharing and circulating those findings and recommendations to the board via the F&A committee, and then also to other key stakeholders. In the following year, 2024, we continue to refine the rate structure based on feedback from stakeholders, again, that being the board, members from the business community, and public officials. And then shared our update in terms of developing a rate structure in March 2025. That was done before the Strategic Planning Committee, and it also included a pathway for implementation, which we have, I believe, always thought would include voter support and a ballot initiative. In June of last year, the rate structure continues to be refined and developed. Updates again are shared with the Strategic Planning Committee. And at this point, based on the work that Raftellus had done thus far, it's recommended that the approach should be a combination of drainage taxes plus a new stormwater fee. And since that time, our consultants have been collecting and digitizing impervious area data for all parcels citywide, which we'll touch on more later in the presentation, but that's an important data point that's needed to have an accurate fee. And we are continuing our efforts to reach a point where our rate structure can be shared with the public. Earlier this year, we presented our proposal to the administration, and now we are collaborating with a working group made up of SWIBNO staff, along with members of the mayor's team, city council members, and council staff to continue working together on this initiative. Just a high-level overview before I turn it over to Raftellus. When it comes to funding and the options that were considered, we have 3 existing drainage taxes. Of course, an option could be to levy an additional tax, but that just perpetuates kind of this unfair system that we're in, where a large amount of tax-exempt properties do not contribute funding to support the system. An idea was also, could we replace and phase out all of the drainage taxes with a stormwater fee? And while Raftellus considered this as an option, and it's one that is done in other communities, the needs of the utility and the system for us would mean that the fee is untenably high and raises significant affordability concerns. And so that's where we landed, which is using this balanced approach where we would need to retain some version of property tax or millage revenue, and then on top of that, add a stormwater fee to bring in this additional group of new customer base that isn't currently contributing. So with that, I will turn it over to Henrietta Locklear from Raftellus to walk the committee through basically the proposal that has been developed.
So I'll start for a moment with those needs that Jamie just mentioned. As you all are well aware, the drainage system needs are very significant. And one of our tasks in this phase of work has been to refine those needs and develop a firm understanding of what the revenue requirements would be. And so our financial planning has included identifying those needs in more detail and resulted in about a $50 million a year annual shortfall. And we worked with Caitlin and Gray and Steve at some points on developing that list of projects and staffing needs. Today, we're spending about $74 million, but additional unmet needs that you can see on the right-hand side of this slide include investments in staffing for the minor drainage system to operate it properly, as well as canal cleaning and repair, improvements to the major drainage pumps and maintenance of those pumps, a series of electrical upgrades, as well as green infrastructure and general facilities upgrades, and importantly, shared overhead with the other utilities, water and sewer. On the next slide, with the basis for our revenue needs more firmly established, we reviewed it in the context of stormwater funding. And after reviewing a number of options, some of which Jamie described, we developed a proposal that would have both a new stormwater fee and an adjusted drainage tax. This combined funding mechanism brings tax-exempt properties into the system to pay and provides that they pay based on impervious area, which is a measure of demand for many of Sewage and Water Board's drainage services. The rate structure would be phased in over time so that those significant revenue needs would be met after a period of time. We modeled a 5-year period to reach the target revenue needed, with the tax remaining steady over that time period. On the next slide, as you know, drainage is currently funded through 3 dedicated taxes, with one of the taxes set to end in 2027. And under this 2-part proposal, we imagined consolidating the 3 drainage taxes into one, and then decreasing that property drainage tax a little bit, approximately 15%, so that taxpayers would continue to contribute based on their property value, but at a slightly lower rate. And this would provide a break to properties that have historically been paying significant amounts towards the drainage needs via taxes. And in the end, after the phase-in, the amount received via property taxes would account for about half of the revenue need. And this combined single tax would provide a more simplified approach, one tax and one renewal date, as opposed to the current complexity. The stormwater fee component of the proposal would be a user fee that's based on impervious area. Impervious areas are hard surfaces that do not allow stormwater to absorb into the ground. And this includes hard surfaces on a properties, including sidewalks, driveways, patios, roofs, and stormwater runs off. All of these and places demand on the drainage system, as you see, nearly daily. And so the more impervious area or hard surfaces on a property, the higher the fee the property would pay or would be charged. On the next slide, you can see a little bit more detail about how this would work. The calculation of the stormwater fee would employ a unit of charge, which is called an equivalent residential unit. This is commonly used throughout the country for stormwater fees. And it's based on the typical impervious area of a single-family residential property, which is measured specifically for New Orleans and is 2,760 square feet in the city. Then this ERU amount would be, 1 unit of charge and would be assigned a rate. And the rate, the customers would be divided into 2 groups: single-family residential properties and non-single-family properties. And so among the single-family residential properties, the rate structure includes some increased differentiation between smaller and larger properties, so that smaller homes with a smaller impervious area footprint would pay less, a portion of the ERU, as you can see on the slide. And then kind of those medium properties would pay 1 ERU each. And then the larger properties, 1.5 ERUs. And then every other property, you can think of properties like City Hall, a casino, or a shopping mall, fast food restaurant would all pay based on a measurement of their impervious area and would pay multiple ERUs on their rate. So for example, this means that a property that has 10 times as much impervious area as a typical home would be charged for 10 times as much under the fee. On the next slide, the proposal includes kind of a feature in which we would adjust the stormwater fee, and it would work as follows. The total fee for the property would be based on the impervious area on the property. And here, I wanted to show you an example of measured data. It's in the light blue on the left, the kind of transparent blue. And so, as Jamie mentioned, all properties, not just this one shown here, have been carefully measured, ones that include impervious area throughout the city. So that initial fee would be calculated, and then it would be offset by drainage property taxes paid. Then the remaining fee is the adjusted stormwater fee. And so if a property pays more in taxes than they would in fee, then their stormwater fee is adjusted to 0. A property that pays no taxes would have no adjustment and would pay the full fee. One more thing to mention is, the picture at left, almost 124,000 properties have been measured under the effort that we've done for the Sewer and Water Board in that task. All right, next slide, please. So the proposal that I've described is a balanced approach, incorporating tax and fee, and these have different benefits. A single consolidated drainage tax recognizes that an important function that Sewer and Water Board provides is flood protection, and the extent to which properties benefit from that service, that set of services, is based on their value and protects that value. And retaining the tax keeps a stable revenue source that's been used historically. Lowering it slightly offers some relief to properties that have historically been paying for drainage. And, you know, it properly provides about half the revenue needed once the fee is fully phased in. The stormwater fee adjusted by taxes paid would account for that other half. And its benefits include that the individual property's impact on the drainage system based on their impervious area would be, you know, tied to the fee. Moreover, the addition of the fee would bring in tax exempt property so that everyone would be paying into the system. And it would be offset by the drainage tax so that people wouldn't end up paying more than they would under taxes for those properties with higher taxes. And then it provides, again, the other half of the revenue. So now this proposal is before you and it can be discussed and refined. And I'll hand it back over to Jamie to close us out.
Sure. So I want to note that this is where we landed in terms of developing a proposal. And the key for this proposal is that the taxes and the stormwater fee are connected and can go up or down depending on what you pay. In our conversations with this working group, we're exploring and continuing to collaborate on perhaps another approach to ensure that we're generating additional revenue that's needed, but also doing it with affordability and equity in mind for customers and providing something that's really holistic. And so while, as I understand it, you know, there still might be drainage taxes as part of the equation to pay for the drainage system. They perhaps might not be connected to the stormwater fee, but that's something that this working group is continuing to explore. I don't know if, Steve, you have, or Leo John, any other comments
No, I
to that?
appreciate the follow-up. I think the key here is fairness, that there is a large, I've heard 40% of the assessed value, that's not 40% of the individual properties, but 40% of the assessed value in Orleans Parish is tax exempt and do not pay into the drainage system, or frankly, the streets or streetlights or signals or any of these other things from which they benefit. And so the key here is providing a vehicle that will bring those entities into the fold while not increasing the burden on those who are already paying. And I think that's really, really important, that whatever proposal comes out of our working group, comes out of this, does not increase the burden on those who are currently paying into the system, but brings those in who are not, and does so in a way that's fair.
So I just have one question about this. So when I hear the calculation being made on the impervious area, it triggers something that I'm not an expert on, Davis, Tyler, Steve, Randy. When I hear about people who have paid to have permeable concrete in their driveways and the sidewalks in front of their homes, I'm curious about how that impacts the calculation, because I always appreciated that was an extra spin by a property owner to better our environment and our drainage situation. But when I see that we're doing the calculations on those hard surfaces, I'm wondering if they get a credit for that or how it's impacted, if at all.
Yes, so I think any proposal that makes its way to the public will have a robust credit program where you can, and I'll let Henrietta speak more on this since she's developed many across the country, but you would show what you've done to your property and be able to receive a credit from your calculated fee.
And I would add that when I was general counsel, we implemented this type of stormwater fee in DC and in Philadelphia. And it goes so far as taking pictures of the property and then making determination, is it pervious, non-pervious? and then allowing a credit program of some kind. So that would be in line with what's done across the country.
That's what I want to hear. Thank you, guys.
I-
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
As far as, if you can explain like a high-level timeline or the process needed for consolidation of the taxes, and the time frame for that, one, and then has there been any contingency forecasting with this in case like there is an expiration in one of the taxes? As I know everything as far as the 5-year plan was based on that.
I think moving forward with kind of a holistic and comprehensive approach, we have to take into consideration the pending expiration of the millage, so we can collect in 2027, but any effort would need to be before voters next year. I think that is on the radar of the working group to be expeditious in our meetings and discussions, but also wanting to present something that is fully baked and captures the entirety of the systems, which could, water, wastewater, drainage, kind of along with what Steve has mentioned, like something that's more comprehensive, but knowing that we do have a pending timeline approaching for one of the millages.
I did just want to note that I think the existing funding of the system, we are all aware, is insufficient to meet the needs and has been that way for a very long time, objectively and demonstrably since 1992 when the fourth millage expired, but I think even since before that time. Given our climate and given our geography, I think that we receive a tremendous value for money for what we pay now, but that is largely at the expense of the capital needs of the system and the maintenance of it. So we know that the system is in many ways in a state of sort of critical disrepair, and we all experience that every time we receive even a sort of regular rainfall within the city. And so while I think that affordability is critical to understand, I also think that for who we are as a city, for the residents of this city, we can't not afford to make an investment in our stormwater system. There are already people talking about managed retreat from the city due to climate change and sea level rise in national, international forums. And so I think that if we are to continue to inhabit this place, as we all desire to do, as we'd all love to be able to do, I think that this is the number one priority for the thing that we must fund. Because if we don't properly fund our stormwater management system, we cannot continue to exist here.
Yeah.
So just kind of to hopefully simplify, right now we're looking at consolidating the drainage taxes into one millage.
That is something being considered by the working group, yes.
And then on top of that, that we would have a stormwater fee assessed that takes into account what you may have paid in property taxes to offset the amount you pay.
That is the proposal that Raftellus developed, kind of where those two are connected. We might not end up there. It might just be kind of a traditional standalone stormwater fee, but that is also, that's still under.
So maybe lowering the property tax and bringing up or standing up a stormwater fee.
You could do it in a number of ways. Yeah, I will say that with the data work and the impervious area, like collecting that impervious area by Raftellus has put us, I think, in a really good place where these financial modeling scenarios can be done easier and with accuracy because we have this data parcel by parcel. So, the feedback from stakeholders is adjust it this way or the other, that can be,
So we're able to run
Done.
a bunch of what-if scenarios?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
that's good.
And I'd say that probably is where we are right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, I think in strategic planning, we had a presentation on green infrastructure, also maybe having a credit for people to put in a rain garden or, pervious pavement or whatever. Is that being considered in this whole equation as well?
Yes, green infrastructure is a topic that should be, yes, included in this discussion, including funding green infrastructure initiatives from a stormwater fee.
Really, my only concern, and I agree with the fee-based approach. Property taxes for stormwater are just inherently unfair and a completely inaccurate way of trying to assess a property's impact on runoff. I mean, it doesn't matter what the property's, whether you be a, Mardi Gras den that has a giant warehouse on it with no, all impervious area with a low value. And so they don't really pay their share. So I get that. And then we have the people that are tax exempt, which is 40%, which is mind-blowing. My concern is, and the feedback I'm getting is the complexity of the proposal. So whatever it is that we come up with needs to be something that you can explain to someone that owns a typical home in the Bywater or wherever, who may not be the most sophisticated person as far as knowing what a pervious area and impervious area is, and et cetera. My fear is that this is going to be, the scenarios and the different moving parts are going to be such that it's going to be really hard to explain to people, your average voter. So I guess as we move forward, I really think we need to focus on simplicity as much as possible.
So if I can ask a question, building on what Director Cole is bringing up, where is the project or the proposal in development? You mentioned this is where you've been able to arrive so far. Has communications with the public already been considered in the proposal, or is that another piece of it that if you're moving forward, you would tackle? And what else is left to tackle, I guess I should say?
It is being considered as part of the proposal, a communication/education, public outreach component. Yes, that is included in Raftalis's scope of work.
Okay. And what else is left that hasn't been done yet?
It's finalizing the proposal with the working group and the path forward that will be presented to the public.
Jamie, what about veteran property owners who do not pay any property tax because they have a 100% disability rating? How does that impact them? Because they only pay an administrative fee. So what's going to be their situation in terms of, are they going to have to pay or not?
So separate from the credits program, which would be if you install some green infrastructure thing on your property, there would also be like a customer assistance program that would need to be fully flushed out and developed, but that is part of the proposal, and it could include assistance for the types of property owners that you're talking about. So that is definitely in consideration in developing the final version.
Okay, thanks.
One more question. The current drainage millages, or do they support any bond payments currently?
We have borrowed against one of them that was the longest, that expired in 2046, but because one's expired in 2027, one in 2031, the other one's 2046, that not really capacity long enough of a time period. So we're sort of back in that no capacity.
Without a renewal or extension, we can't issue bonds against.
Yeah, there's
current.
two few years left. They were both 50-year millages, and then the one in 2016 was 30 years. So when you're at the beginning of those cycles, it's a different story, but we're at the end.
And would a stormwater fee, again, would that be something that, I don't know, it's probably not a word, bondable? Is that something we can borrow against?
Yes,
Revenue anticipation?
that's part of the planning, financial planning, that's a net revenue or a revenue bond that you are able to bond or issue against your stormwater fee.
Whatever it is we come out with, there's a good chance we can get some sort of cash now to do what we need to do now.
Yes, yeah.
Billions that we.
That's part of the plan, yes.
Any other questions on this proposal, this presentation, Ryan? Okay, well, that's it. All right, thank you very much. And next, we have Mr. Nelson presenting on the parcel fee. Is that right?
I think he's going to be Mr. Arnett.
Sorry.
Mr. Arnett?
I didn't get that
Well,
note. Is it?
we're here to answer we're here to answer questions. I didn't have a PowerPoint.
No, but I can
prepared.
make some remarks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Be great. Thanks.
I don't know anything about it. Should I stand right here?
Yeah.
No, it's all good. I mean, I'm happy to stand. Hey, good morning, y'all. I'm Leo Genernet. I'm the Director of Policy and Research in the Mayor's Office. So as far as the parcel fee, the first thing I want to say is it's a priority of the administration for this to pass. It's a priority for the administration for this to pass with the drainage component. I mean, as Director Antrup said, that we are in a moment now where the funding is needed, the recurring revenue source is needed. And I think that from drainage issues or catch basin cleanings to flooded streets after rainstorms, we all know that we need to invest more into this system and the deferred maintenance that was presented earlier today. The parcel fee proposal, though, is one that has three folds. The first of which is a preservation of the importance of drainage and investments in that system. The second is flexibility in that use of funds, and the third is affordability. And I'll talk to the affordability and the flexibility right now. As far as the flexibility, it's a priority of Mayor Helena Moreno as well for the funds and the revenues to be used with the flexibility needed to address the number of challenges we face in the city. And as far as drainage is concerned, drainage, of course, as a system needs its investment for the deferred maintenance, but drainage is also a component of our entire streetscape and infrastructure to where we would like that fund to be able, if we do go and fix some sort of drainage installation, to also fund the rehabilitation of the road as a holistic, comprehensive package for the improvements that need to be made. And as far as the affordability piece, we want to preserve and protect the affordability for residents, for small businesses, et cetera, to where this isn't too high of a fee to pay. And so the proposal that we'll be discussing today or voting on today is one that centers that affordability piece and centers that flexibility of use piece while preserving the importance and necessity of drainage being a huge component of this.
That's good.
Thank you, LJ. Yeah, just reiterating again, affordability and the flexibility piece. Gray talked about IAB and the beauty of being able to use IAB funds for different purposes as needs get met. And so being able to, as LJ mentioned, the users, the nonprofit users of the system are benefiting from water, drainage, streets, the whole 9 yards. And so putting all of that together allows the Sewage and Water Board more flexibility in how to utilize those funds as time passes.
Got it.
So at the city's request, we've asked Draftellis to put together a proposal of what a scope of work in terms of developing this kind of flexible parcel fee. And they've done that. And Henrietta, can you, I guess, walk us through a high level of the proposal and what it would entail?
Yes, certainly. So the proposal that we've developed focuses on a street maintenance parcel fee, which has been used in a number of jurisdictions, many of which, just because of the origin of these fees, are in the Northwest. It was kind of used there first and is trickling throughout the country, similar to stormwater fees, actually. And this proposal, under this proposal, we would, provide our normal project management tasks. We would provide some context to the working group on different parcel fee structures that have been used in other communities and their kind of pros and cons for the city's purposes. And then similar to the work that we have done in identifying and clarifying the drainage revenue needs, we'd work to define what would be paid for under the street maintenance fee. So developing revenue requirements as the basis. Then would work with the working group to develop rate structure options. And to be clear, for street maintenance fees, residents and businesses, all properties are charged the fee based on, again, their demand on the transportation system, similar to their demand on the stormwater system, or same for water and sewer. And the measure of demand is typically the number of trips that are generated by the land use. So that is kind of their use of the transportation network, which you can imagine differs between single family houses versus a school or a gas station or a shopping center. Typically, the basis for these factors begins with trip generation rates that are published by renowned entity, the Institute of Transportation Engineers. And sometimes rate structures include other factors like frontage of the property, parking spaces, floor area, square footage, those sorts of things. So we would work with a working group to develop a couple options that make sense for the city. And then would develop the associated rates and the customer impacts that would, flow from those rate structures and provide a summary of those rate impacts. And this is imagined as a quick turnaround project comprising about an 8-week time frame, based on the urgency of developing the ballot language and being able to kind of get the Surgeon Water Board and the city into a good position to have this flexible and comprehensive approach to funding.
Go ahead, you go.
You start first if you, go ahead.
I didn't see you. I'm sorry.
I do think it feels, I'm not sure if we're being asked to do something here. I don't really understand why this is in our purview.
Yeah.
So the ask is to have Raftellus review the flexibility within a parcel fee, to look at the possibility of utilizing trip counts to cover a fee that would be flexible throughout the entirety of the public right of way, and how you could get the flexibility of that in addition to a stormwater fee, or in lieu of, rather. But a stormwater fee as part of a parcel fee that addresses both the roadway, water infrastructure repairs beneath, sewer as well.
So this is in addition to the stormwater fee? Or it would be a consolidated?
It would be a consolidation of the stormwater fee into one parcel fee that addresses stormwater and all the other infrastructure in the public right of way.
So this, I'm trying to understand all of it all at once, okay? So there is no question that's been put before the committee yet. It sounds like we're getting to the question, so maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. But I heard a scope for Raftellus. Is the first question asking
to recommend an expansion of scope from the original scope of work?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
And I'm going to assume there's a price tag attached to that? Or no?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so then there's a spending question and an expansion of scope for Reftellus to do the work, to understand what the parcel fee might look like and do the research and so on and so forth. Okay. And so I have questions about the concept of the parcel fee. Separate and apart, but it sounds like that is not a fully baked proposal to interrogate at this point, or what?
That's the purpose of having Raftellus investigate it, is what would that look like?
Okay,
What would you base it on in terms of trip counts? How much work would it be to determine trip counts? Could you use ERUs as a basis for trip counts?
okay,
And then how would you bake that into one proposal that has the flexibility of utilizing a parcel fee funding to bond against for drainage or sewer, roadways, streets,
I got
and
you.
the like?
Got it. So to Director Antrup's question, trying to understand, is the only thing that's tying this to this body the fact that it's an extension of the existing scope of work? Or I guess I need to understand the mechanics of the two different anticipated or proposed fees. The stormwater fee, I understand, is specific to drainage and what is under the purview of this organization. When we start talking about these other types of work, that's not what, right? So help me understand, please.
So, and tell me if I'm wrong. So my understanding is this is another option
Okay,
that will impact everything that we saw in the first presentation.
okay,
Plus related city services that, yes, are not a part of our purview.
okay,
But it encompasses everything in the first.
okay.
That is our, right?
If I could also add, sorry, I'm standing behind. What we had talked about in kind of the development of this is twofold right now. The first being, right now, to do the kind of subsurface work, either on the drainage system or on the water system or the sewer system, you have to pay for the rehabilitation costs to the roadway in addition to that work. And so what we're hoping is with this piece that kind of also tackles like the street work, that, okay, well now there's that revenue source that could be provided for that road work. So we're hoping that the dollars that y'all would be using on the water systems or the sewer or drainage systems would actually go further to fix or make the kind of maintenance and repairs on those systems. And then the rehabilitation part could be covered with this part that is a bit more flexible. And so the dollars so that's the connection between the two, is that we're hoping these funds enable that kind of, elongating of the funds that could be spent on water systems or drainage systems.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, and then I have another.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so if I'm thinking about these, again, there seem now to be two different questions. One is, do we want to invest in exploration of the parcel fee through Reftellus and do the scope expansion, the scope of work expansion? And then for me to understand that, I want to understand what's the cost of doing that work, right? So that's one. But then I also want to understand the difference in mechanics for these two types of fees. Where's the money going when we talk about the flexibility? And it may be helpful to explain that I am looking at, as the fiduciary in this seat, looking at what is going to be in the best interest of this organization and its ratepayers, right? So when you talk to me about a fee that's coming directly to what is in our purview, that makes sense. And then you talk about adjustments and equity and so on and so forth, that makes a lot of sense. This other fee is a little bit of a hodgepodge, and so it's harder for me to assess the piece that I'm focused primarily on. And in order to do that, I need to know, will the flexibility negatively or less positively impact this operation than the first one? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. And again, it's all about flexibility. I think the mayor's been pretty clear in that whether it's a stormwater fee or a parcel fee, the city will need to control, the funding will need to come through the city to the board. It would not go to the board directly, and I think she said that fairly publicly.
Okay.
That given the public standing of the board, the city would need to be the manager of that. And with a parcel fee, again, it allows the flexibility to be able to utilize for water or sewer or the traveled roadway. But the Sewage and Water Board is responsible for repairing the roadway for the subsurface infrastructure and putting all of that together. And again, this is an exploration that we've asked that Raftellus, in conjunction with the board, put together a proposal to look at the feasibility of that and what that would look like.
Okay, and just one more follow-up question. When we talk about the flexibility of what's gonna go where, have we identified decision makers on that? On that, how those, or is that a part of the study as well, of what Raftellus would talk about? Or have we already determined how the mechanism of decision-making around how it would flux from destination to destination?
Well, that's part of governance going forward, which there's a bill in Baton Rouge being worked on right now, and I'm sure this will be part of that discussion.
Gotcha. Okay.
You kind of asked my question, but let me just ask it a little plainly. So if we were to include drainage in the parcel fee, that would go along with roadways, which is related, and traffic signals and whatever. Is that just one pot of money, or is a portion of that dedicated to each individual source, or is that part of the flexibility just to have this as a pot
I
of
think it's part of the flexibility, but you would have to dedicate it. So the IAB funds, as I think Greg can explain, are dedicated by percentage, correct? You have to lay out what goes, whoever's, in the case of the IAB and the IMF, that board monitors the specific projects, the allocation of the funding, and the expenditure. So you would have to have oversight of what's spent where.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's project by project determination, yeah.
Okay, that answers my question.
With regards to the flexibility, and I'm, happy that the mayor is a prioritization with drainage, but in perpetuity. As, mayors change, council change, what happens with prioritization? Like, right now, we know that this is critical, and we have, a city council, a mayor that knows it's critical. What happens when and if we don't? Like, how then, if it's just, like, I appreciate the flexibility, but it's also issues with that, right? So I think that just needs to kind of be thought out too. Like, we love talking about guardrails, like putting in something where we can say like it's earmarked or dedicated, just because we have to think beyond, these, work that has to be done is 20, 30 years ahead, so like in the right now, I see where it can make sense to some. I'm just thinking future wise. And then if you have like a combination of all of them, I'm sure this will be in a study, would that then increase the rate or the fee for the payers? Because right now what was originally done was like kind of an offset, right? So if we take out the offset, or maybe the thing is to add the parcel fee with the millage tax, I don't know. But if we take out the first presentation and we're talking about an all-inclusive, I would think that would be a larger fee. That would just kind of be my thought process. And then the last thing, and I'm sorry, I know you want to respond to that.
I've got two questions there.
Write them down, see, write them down.
I'm writing them down.
But the last thing is, we've asked for, well, the city's asked for an 8-week turnaround. It seems that this stormwater fee has been researched for some years. So is there any threats, any dangers to the accuracy or the development of it if we're trying to do it in 8 weeks as opposed to the number of years? And I don't know how like long the normal turnaround is. Like, is there any threat to what is the outcome of that if we're trying to do it in rapid fashion?
So the first question, how much and who will pay? The key is fairness. So if the single-family homeowner or the high-value property taxpayer is paying into the system, their taxes should offset any fee that takes place. So they should not be paying more after this than before. And the nonprofits who are benefiting from the system but are not contributing to it would be the ones that would be fairly contributing. So again, that's the baseline. It's not increasing the overall cost of those who are already contributing to the system. The second piece in the question about priorities over time, I'd use the IAB, the Infrastructure Advisory Board, and that fair share money. the power complex project and smart metering have been great examples of programs where there was a really high priority on getting Turbine 4 taken offline, which congratulations is now the case in smart meters. High priority to make that program happen and get billing fixed, which smart meters are in. You can see it in the revenues, you can see it in the fruit of it. And the same would be true with a parcel fee. The priorities will shift over time as resources are applied and the problem is addressed, whatever the problem may be. A parcel fee would allow for the flexibility to shift over from drainage back to sewer at some point. We've just finished a $250 million investment with WIFIA right now. And if you look at the work order backlog, water is really high, paving is smaller, but sewer is by far the smallest. That's going to change over time. If we don't have capital investment on the sewer system, 20 years from now, the sewer is going to be the big problem again if we don't have the flexibility to put the funding into it. And so that's where a parcel fee, again, and you're absolutely right, being able to set priorities and do like the board and Caitlin and her team and Gray and Randy with studies that are done by experts that lay out capital programs, that is the important part so that we can let the experts within the organization and as we need consultants lay out capital improvement plans for the future, post those and adopt them publicly. That's got to be the guiding light, not the whims of political change. And then the last question about the 8-week turnaround, that's what Raftellus has given us on this proposal that I believe are the next 2 action items. And then from there, there's going to have to be a lot of public discourse. We've talked about what are the next steps. And I know that the administration here, the board, has talked about having a series of public meetings to talk through the nuts and bolts of where does the funding go, where does it come from, how much does it cost, et cetera. There's going to be continued development through that after the 8 weeks.
And I like the examples you brought up. And again, I don't want to say fearful, but just thoughtful in, we have a very strong knowledge base between Sewage and Water Board, and then people have left Sewage and Water Board, went to the city, right? And to your point of, the things that you brought about the power complex, there's a new council, but it also are some key players that were part of that success. So again, like you have still a strong knowledge base in place right now. I'm just thinking 20, 30 years from now, when we're all retired or whatever, what happens then? And it's just, if we can find a way to put something in place to where it goes beyond us. That's just kind
Absolutely. Setting the processes in place so it doesn't matter who's in any given chair is key no matter what comes out. You're absolutely right.
That's it.
I'm curious if there's any thoughts from the special counsel's office about, our ability to pursue this line of study and the source of funds and our ability to fund this additional scope of work.
I think that given the fact that we already have an agreement with Raftellus to do this particular work and we're basically expanding on it, I don't see that being a problem.
Anyone else? Because I definitely have something, but it's a different direction. So I have a question, and I'm glad you're here, LJ. This might be you again. Hang tight till you hear it. I'm saying it might be you. So definitely a question may turn into an ask. And so it's informed by my shaky history of my youth, right? So we've had substantial public input since I've been here a couple years. And by far the most common public comment was a concern about assessing a fee on residents. Now, we all, I think, share the premise that everyone has to participate in this, but it forced me to kind of think outside the box and just kind of self-examine what other opportunities are there. And I know the genesis of fair share, but I don't know, and I love that Raftellus kind of level sets us with national best practices and trends, but I don't know of maybe a few other cities in the world, that in the country at least, that received a surge of population during tourism events like our city. And so, you know, along that vein, we created years ago, again, I was a kid when this was happening, but I assure you my nerd credentials were legitimate. And if I recall, we started 4-cent tax per night on our visitors, right? Now, two things about that tax that I haven't seen discussed robustly in contemporary times that I think are relevant now. One, if I recall, for the state to receive the 4-cent tax, I believe we gave up a 1-cent city-controlled tax at the time. I would love someone to, because I've discussed this, and Gray mentioned it earlier in his presentation. We're not the body, though, to vet this out, right? And so that's why I'm glad you're here. Because I'm like, and so I would love to know if that's something that's available to us to supplement our efforts for drainage, for streets, for services, municipal services. Secondly, how long ago was that 4-cent tax put in? Is it still relevant at 4 cents? Is there an opportunity to ask for a 5th cent or 6 just based on inflation? We have completely different needs from when that time that the 4 cents was enacted, right? And so we've seen iterations, we've seen previous mayors kind of leverage it a little bit. And so I'm sure it's come up in some capacity, but I really want to, you know, I'm waiting for someone at some point to dig a little deeper because like I said, I think we gave up a city-controlled penny to get 4 state-controlled pennies. And if those 4 state-controlled pennies are kind of old and outdated, in my opinion. So, so that's the question is, have we dug in deep? And then if not, that's my ask, if we could.
I think the comment is very apt timing considering next legislative session is a fiscal one.
Yeah.
And so, of course, we could start getting that research. I can't say for certain if that's been explored, but as far as revenue raising measures, I know CAO Giarrusso and Mayor Moreno have been exploring the full breadth of what we can do and what we can put forward to try to raise any revenue we can for the city. And so your comment is certainly received.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
You. Thanks. All right. I'm clear on the presentation otherwise. So any other questions?
Can I say one
Sure,
thing?
absolutely.
Sorry. I wanted to say one last thing. Just really quick, as far as the connection between all of this, just this Monday, we were in our weekly infrastructure coordinating council working group meetings where we're having council members come and visit with the group and talk about their priorities. And council member Freddie King had mentioned this one spot on Lauredale Drive out in Algiers. And we went on maps.com, right, and looked at this one spot where the ground is sunk. It's actually grown some grass at this point. And we went kind of back through this history, right, of all the different photos. And even before 2011, which is kind of the last photo we all looked at, what it looked like was this sunken street around a drain manhole. And I bring that up to say, this is a great place for coordinated efforts on this kinds of infrastructure work, right? I mean, it's all street work and it's the drainage system. But on top of that, this is exactly the kind of flexibility and the kind of projects we're looking at where, yes, we need to address the drainage system, and that is a priority. That is a priority for this fund. But the flexibility allows for this comprehensive look at the infrastructure system that says, okay, it all works together. Some streets might be singing, some streets might be, kind of breaking at the top. And we need to have this flexibility to address this as we continue to modernize the system. So I just wanted to share that anecdote as well.
Thanks. Anyone else? Comments, questions? All right, seeing none, we can move into our action items. And first up, let's see. Gray, are you presenting this? Over. Okay.
First up is an amendment to our existing contract with Raftellus. It is for an additional $502,000, $342,000, and it is to get us through the completion of the digitization efforts of obtaining impervious parcel area data on parcels citywide, and through getting us also to the point of a ballot initiative. Any document preparation, public outreach, education, those types of things, that's included in this proposal.
So this is only relative to the stormwater fee portion.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. That's it. All right. With that, may I have a motion to approve Resolution R07, may I have a motion to approve Resolution R067, 2026?
So moved.
Moved by Director Greenwich,
Second?
second by Director Scruggs. Any discussion? None? Any public comment?
No public comment, Chair.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? All right, motion carries. Thank you. And next,
This is a second amendment to the existing Raftellus contract, Amendment Number 4. This would be for the newly requested and expanded scope of work relative to the development of a parcel fee in the amount of it's all the way at the bottom, $122,000, $122,460. This is for the 8-week scope of work that was previously discussed.
thank you very much. May I have a resolution, may I have a motion to approve Resolution R068, 2026? Anyone?
Am I a member of the Finance and Administration Committee able to make said motion?
He's not a member, he can't make the
Oh.
motion.
Thanks for that clarification.
I'm not a member either. That was actually a question I had on the previous.
Joint meeting.
Joint motion.
City, are you the designate today?
I'm the mayor's designee, so I mean,
Gotcha.
Daryl, if I can make the motion, I will gladly make the motion. I just want to be sure that I'm legally able to do so.
Well, the mayor performs as president and ex officio, which means she would be a member of all the committees, but that's not your position because you can't be the president, you're just a member of the board of directors on behalf of the mayor.
As her designee.
Right. So you doesn't have the authority in that particular case to do that. It would need to be someone from one of the committee members of either the finance or the strategic committee.
So just for clarification, my inquiry was, are you here today as a representative of the city to speak for the city, or are you here as the mayor's designee? You are sitting as a mayor's designee, fiduciary, along with the rest of us at the table. My recollection from a prior governance committee meeting where we had a mayor's designee assert ex officio membership on all committees and also was allowed to vote at that time. So I'm unclear. Does the mayor's designee, when sitting in the capacity as a designee, have the right to vote in a committee or no?
The mayor would sit on a committee as the ex officio, but Steve is not the ex officio president of the board. He is just a designee for the mayor as a member of the board.
Okay.
You're equally confused?
No, I'm clear.
I am. I'm equally
clear.
confused as well.
Okay.
The way, if I'm a member of strategic planning, since it's a joint meeting,
Yes, you
can I
can.
make the
Yes,
motion and
yes,
vote? Then
sure.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so moved by Director Cole. Is there a second? Is there a second? All right, haven't had this scenario. Further discussion?
There's no discussion. The motion fails. There's no second.
Got it. All right, we do not have a second, so it is not moved for resolution. It's not moved for approval. We move on. Next, we have our general superintendent's recommendations. Caitlin Timrick.
Excuse me, good morning. All right, today, excuse me, before you, we have 1 contract award, 4 contract amendments, and 5 change orders by ratification, as well as 4 final acceptances. The first item is award of contract 2025 SWB 18 for skilled and unskilled labor for maintenance between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Abacus Services Corporation. This did come before the board last month. That date that it was discussed at the board meeting, there was a temporary restraining order that had been issued that day. That has, not sure of the legal word, but
It's
it is.
been resolved.
It's been
It was,
resolved.
The temporary restraining order was denied.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That is why this is now again before the committee, moving forward with request to award. So again, the selection committee met, evaluated 2 responsive proposals, and recommended the award to Abacus Services Corporation at a compensation not to exceed $5,025,000 for an initial term of 2, on an annual basis, for an initial term of 2 years with 3 one-year renewal options.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve contract award R040-2026?
So move.
Been moved-
Second.
Been moved by Director Antrim, seconded by Director Scruggs. Any discussion? Not any public comment?
Pardon me, I've got to step out,
No
excuse me.
problem.
Thank you.
Any public comment? I'm sorry.
No public comment, Chair.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions, any nays? All right, thank you. Motion carries. And next, we have 4 contract amendments.
Yes, starting with authorization of amendment number 1 to the agreement between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Xylem Dewatering Solutions, doing business as Walks Water Services for leak detection and fire flow testing within Orleans Parish. This is an amendment that does not increase the time, but it increases the amount that we will approve to do work within the current contract period, which is through 2028. And so this adds an additional annual amount of $320,862 on an annual, for a total annual amount spend of $500,000. So for a total of $1.5 million over 3 years. This is for leak detection services. We certainly know that this is an important action that we are taking. We have been increasing our leak detection services over the course of this year and need to be able to continue with those services.
Thank you, thank
All
you.
right.
And we have to
We're doing them in global.
we can do them in global.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question about that one,
Yeah,
though? This
sure,
is,
Howard.
is this additional scope due to the immediate action plan, or is this just sort of typical scope and that's still to come?
It's a combination. It is due to the increased needs we had at the beginning of the year and will be supporting us as we are doing additional assessments of known issues at this time.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's a combination of those. Thank you. All right, next we have a authorization of amendment number 8 to the agreement between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and NY Associates for design and engineering services for the water line replacement program. This consultant is supporting us on the TM10 French Quarter transmission main work. This amendment 8 is for additional fees for resident inspection services in not to exceed amount of $100,000 as required by FEMA for the services of an archaeologist during the construction of this project. So in addition, the resident inspection and the archaeologist, this compose this amendment of $248,971.25 those two combined are for $348,971.25, bringing the total compensation amount to $3,585,357.75 with no additional time extension at this moment. Next, we have authorization of Amendment 10 to the agreement between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Mott McDonald LLC, which is a successor in interest to Lambert Engineers LLC, for the design and engineering services for the water line replacement program. This is related to the other joint infrastructure recovery roads projects where we are working together with the city. This is an increase of resident inspection services for 2 specific projects. the St. Anthony Green Streets North and St. Anthony Green Street South. This is work that was already contemplated and is now continuing on. And so this is an additional inspection fee of $275,000, $244 for bringing the total compensation to $3,639,328.77 with no additional time at this moment. And the final contract amendment is amendment number 3 for contract 30264. This is cleaning and CCTV inspection of sanitary sewer mains at various sites within Orleans Parish between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Compliance Enviro Systems LLC. This is amendment 3, which is an addition of $440,000 to continue services this year. We have had an increased need in sewer cleaning and inspection services at various sites around the city. And so this is adding money for us to continue to do that work due to additional work that has been requested or been identified with a current contract completion date of the end of this year, in which case we will need to do an amendment or put out again for bid.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve contract amendments R042, 2026, R045, 2026, R046, 2026, and R047, 2026?
So moved.
Moved by Director Antrim. Second by Director Greenwich. Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment, Chair.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays, any abstentions? Motion carries. We've approved those 4 contract amendments. And next, we have 5 change orders by ratification. Ms. Timrick.
Yes, and I apologize, I've not been reading the resolution number, so I'll add that in now. R033, 2026 is the ratification of change order number 8 for contract 1420. This is the Power Complex Phase 1 equipment installation and commissioning between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Frischurz Barnes, a joint venture. So this is change order number 8, which represents 9 field change orders of multiple different items. Some of these are additions, some are deductions, for a cumulative contract increase of $213,760, which brings for a total contract amount of $55,043,700.41, which represents a cumulative contract increase of 3.2%. And there is no time being added at this moment. Flip through the pages. All right, R049, 2026 is ratification of change order number 3 for contract 2164. This is for water main line replacements and extension at various locations throughout Orleans Parish between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Wallace C. Drennan LLC. This change order increases the amount by $2 million and extends the contract by 174 days to September 30th of 2026. This contract was used for several of the emergency issues that we had, specifically on Willow Street, and is also being used through the infusion of additional IAB funds to do the work on South Claiborne 3rd. So we're extending that with additional funding source and additional time, and will need to go back out to bid for an additional contract later in the year. Next, we have R050, 2026, ratification of change order number 5 for contract 30232, Carrollton Basin number 3, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and BLD Services LLC. This is the last and final change order number 5, in a deductive amount of $1,009,998.43. And no change in contract date. Yes, no, there is an additional contract duration of 110 calendar days due to agreed upon delays. So this brings the total contract value to $7,406,105.60 with a substantial completion date of February 27th, 2026. Next, we have R052, 2026, which is ratification of change order number 6 for contract 30235, Carrollton Basin number 5, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and BLD Services. Change order number 6 is in the amount of $816.22, an additional 37 days added to the contract for a final substantial completion date of March 31st, 2026, and a final contract value of $9,522,030.93. Next, we have R056, 2026, ratification of change order number 4 for contract 30261, Carrollton Sewer Basin 20, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Hard Rock Construction. This change order adds a final 2 days of work and an amount of $223.33 for a new substantial completion date of March 10th, 2026, and final contract, new contract value of $19,768,081.28. And I think that would be that for the contract amendments. Yes, change orders.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve contract change order by ratification R033, 2026, R049, 2026, R050, 2026, R052, 2026, and R056, 2026.
So moved.
Moved by Director Scruggs,
Second.
second by Director Greenwich. Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment, Chair.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any nays, any abstentions? All right, those contract change orders carry. Thank you very much. And for final acceptance presentations, Ms. Timmer?
Exactly. So we'll start with R051, 2026, authorization of final acceptance for contract 30232, Carrollton Basin number 3, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and BLD Services. This is the final dollar amount of work performed, $7,406,105.60, and a final contract completion date of February 27th, 2026. Authorization of final acceptance 30252. Sorry, this is R053, 2026. Final acceptance for contract 30252, Carrollton Basin number 11, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and BLD Services. The final dollar amount performed was $6,198,883.10, and a final contract completion date of March 31st, 2026. R054, 2026 is authorization of final acceptance for contract 30256, Carrollton Basin number 15, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Hard Rock Construction LLC. This is the final dollar amount performed was $8,812,256.84. And I believe the final contract completion date was December 31st, 2026. And finally, R055, 2026, authorization of final acceptance for contract 30260, Carrollton Basin number 19, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Hard Rock Construction. The final dollar amount here was $9,594,870.92, and extended the contract duration by 261 calendar days for, again, I believe, final date of December 31st, 2025, I'm sorry. And that would be it.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve final acceptance resolutions R051, 2026, R053, 2026, R054, 2026, and R055, 2026?
So moved.
Moved by Director Scruggs,
Second.
second by Director Antrim. Any discussion, questions, any public comment?
No public comment, Chair.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any nays, any abstentions? None. Seeing that, the final acceptance resolutions carry. Thank you very much. There are 4 information items for committee members to review. Are there any public comments of any sort? None. Thank you. Being there are no other matters, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Director Scruggs. Second by Director Cole. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.